Patrick Mulligan for another $2 says Mauler debate Sitch on Joker.
What do you think of Joker?
I think we talked about this at one point. I thought it was kind of I'm trying to remember what was the word I used. Like, it seems sort of generic in some sense. Like every scene where something bad happens to him,
my God.
it's just like, of course that's going to happen to him. Like that's the bad thing that happens to the person in that scene.
Sitch is totally dialing it back here. He's like,
it's
so, it's ho hum, totally.
No.
I think overrated, he said.
It is overrated. I always no. Joker is overrated. What I said was, I like the concept of Joker. I'm happy that it exists. I like that they're willing to
look
do
at all this good
stuff
stuff he's like front loading
here. DC and hero properties, but the movie itself, I thought it felt like Baby Taxi Driver, kind of like, which I don't even really like Taxi Driver, but
you're huge...
I don't know if you know my take on Joker, but I think it's like absurd to compare it to Taxi Driver, that they're like fucking night and day in terms of their storylines. It's just that the superficial stuff is getting connected, and I think it has
a similar feeling to it. Obviously the plot's
he was in a taxi. Remember, Joker was in the taxi.
I've seen people say, like, the Snyder Cut was like a better Avengers 2012, and I'm like, those two movies aren't even remotely the same. Like, I can see how someone can connect them, because you can go, there's teams, there's boxes that are significant power, there's a big guy who's going to try and destroy it. It's like, yeah, but like all of the beats are completely different, and I feel that way about Joker.
Well, I think the comparison comes from the fact you have these two kind of loserish people who are kind of lost in this like really shitty city, society where everything's dirty and grimy, and they feel like there's something wrong with their life. Now, obviously, with the Joker, it's more personal, and with Taxi Driver, it's more societal. And I think that would probably be like one of the major key differences. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna, do something about this. I'm gonna, take my vengeance or whatever about this."
Yeah, those are similar beats, definitely.
Well, have you heard, Red Letter Media consider like T2 compared to T1 and Aliens compared to Alien are like films that essentially just redo the first ones, and like James Cameron just redid both of them. Like they feel like they're not as original stuff.
It's the same story, just again, but different.
I realize when listening to criticisms like that, where I'm just like, I just don't think I mind if it's well executed. And obviously, as you guys may know, but the main thing that we run with on EFAP is continuity. So, if you found it unengaging, generic, or whatever else, I'd just be like, yeah, fair enough. I didn't,
I don't have a problem with like doing the same, like a sequel doing the same thing but different. Like Terminator 2 is great, Aliens 2 is great.
Oh yeah, I love them.
The thing, and I don't even have a problem with Joker, having similarities to Taxi Driver. What I mean when I say it felt like Baby Taxi Driver, it's just that I don't know. This was the Hangover guy who directed?
Yes, it was the Hangover guy.
Yeah,
hilarious.
It just felt like when there was a scene where like the bad thing that can happen, I could just predict when I watched the movie, like, oh, then this is gonna happen. Like it's just, oh, of course, like the worst thing that you can think is gonna happen in the scene is gonna happen in Joker. Like it just seems so on the nose. Maybe that's the better way of framing it. It seems so on the nose. It didn't seem to have any subtlety to it, and that kind of was like annoying to me.
I'm a big fan of it, and I do want to make a video of it eventually, because I find that it's really easy to explain from my like sort of standard for how well written scripts are. There's two plot lines that intersect, being the two careers he takes. One being he's an attempt at becoming a stand-up comedian, and then of course his work as a clown. These two come from his mum having been in an abusive family, but being told again and again that it's your job to smile and make people happy, and it's like ingrained into his head. And so he's tried in both of these environments, and they both have sort of logical progressions, and then they come to explosive endings, and it leads to that talk show thing, which it would take me way longer to go into more detail. I'm impressed by the script, and I don't even know how much of it was done on purpose, or if it's just stuff I'm seeing that that was actually placed deliberately. Todd Phillips, is the guy who made it. I think he said that he couldn't get that script off the ground without essentially sneaking a real film into a comic book film, I think is what he said.
Right.
Because
like he didn't want this to be a Joker movie. He wanted to just be its own thing. Right.
Yeah, it's specifically about mental illness and just what a society can do when it's not intending to destroy someone's life, but it eventually kind of does. And then it gets you to sort of feel a lot of his decisions in terms of like I can see why he did that, but not going for, because there's a lot of people I think that went a bit nuts and they were like, he was right in everything he did in the film. It's like, all right, chill out. I just think the film does a good job of putting a man.
Rorschach was right, Mauler. Okay, Rorschach was right about everything.
Oh, loads of people think that.
I know.
But yeah, just the idea he's a product of all these things that we can see well ahead of time, and I just I find it fascinating to watch him tumble down, and then his freedom in like accepting that he is just almost a cog in the machine, and that it's all a fucking joke.
I think, yeah. I think you're right in that it was structured very well. That the way everything works out is I think that was very well. I don't know. Like this is just my own personal thing. I don't like when things are so on the nose to me, because it takes me out of the movie, because I'm like, I'm watching a movie. So
I'm with you, man. I love being surprised, and then if I look back and think it was all there, all the pieces, I'm like, oh, I'm even more impressed then, because I'm just like, they didn't pull it out of their ass, sort of thing. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like, I think everybody knows when they're watching that film that he's going to do something horrible by the end of it, as a result of all the things that are happening.
The ending is pretty amazing. I feel like the whole movie is really structured around the one scene that totally delivers.
Right. That last scene is really great.
Yeah.
So it's the tension just keeps coming up and up and up and up and up.
Sometimes I feel like movies like that do a lot of sacrificing in the beginning of the movie that they don't necessarily need to do. Like, I felt like a lot of the beginning was just slow, where you're building up to that huge anticipation. And you do need a big buildup to get that kind of emotional resonance out of that last scene. But I feel like there could have been other misdirections that would have been more interesting to bring you to that point. And you could have been entertained all the way up to that point. But I do understand, like, as soon as I saw the ending, I'm like, well, I understand what everyone's talking about, because this ending is fucking amazing. But I felt like getting to that ending was a little bit of a slog for me as I was watching it. So, and I mean, a lot of the politics did seem like standard politics that I don't necessarily know if I believe, like the mainstream narrative on mental illness and stuff like that like society drives people to this. I don't know that I buy any of that stuff. So
I don't know that the film goes against the idea that you're still making choices as an individual. It's just that his situation would totally lead him to believing that there's just a few options left, and that the one he makes is the one that he should have made.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they're going to try to make a sequel to this? I don't know.
Yes, which I am very worried about.
How could you possibly make a sequel to this movie?
Yeah.
They should have. On one hand, like, they had the whole subplot with, the Bruce's father and all that stuff. But I feel like maybe they should have just left anything about Batman just out of the movie entirely.
So, on one hand, I totally agree with you. But then on the other, I'm like, if all those names were switched, would the film be better? And at that point, is it just a meta complaint? Like, if someone's not aware of Batman?
Well, no, I mean, you could just remove that subplot with him thinking he's the son of some billionaire or whatever. Just do something different completely.
Well, but you sounded like you were saying that because it connected with Batman. Is that the problem, or is the subplot the problem?
Well, no, I'm saying I agree with you. If they, you couldn't have the subplot of him thinking he's the son of a billionaire and it not be Batman, like Bruce Wayne.
You could, right? You can call him anything.
Yeah, but as soon as it happens, you think like, oh, well, this has some, like, this was going to be Bruce Wayne at some point in the script. Like, that's my immediate thought would be like, oh, wait a minute, like, why is this being mentioned? It's just, the reason I say is because you can't. I'm fine with there being a standalone Joker movie like this that has really no connection to Batman, because you can't conceive of this character ever interacting or fighting Batman whatsoever.
Yeah, he would lose badly.
Yeah, he's not like the Joker that's going to fight Batman, and I'm fine with that. So it just seems like it doesn't work to me. Like, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how you can make a sequel of this.
So as far as I'm concerned, switching all the names would be fine with me. I actually really like how that all turns out. I've got so many notes about this because I was planning on making a video, and then I got sidetracked with another video and another video, another video.
Right.
But like, I thoroughly enjoy the fact that Joker kind of understands by the end of the film that he was crafted in a sense by all the horrible things that happened to him, and thus he made decision X. But then he's also, as a result, caused someone else to experience that. like that kid in the alleyway sort of situation.
Did he
And he's also gotten the
recognize
kill.
that he caused Bruce's father to be killed?
Oh, I'm suggesting that he would be aware of all of the carnage in general. He might have heard of that from like a newspaper or whatever. It doesn't really need to be that he explicitly, omnisciently watched that happen.
Oh, okay.
My point is that he's laughing at the fact that like he's almost repeated a cycle, and that in a way that's satisfying for me with meta knowledge, knowing that he's going to create someone similarly in terms of mental damage, but it's going to turn out to be a crime fighting vigilante.
Right. No, I like it's a very interesting concept.
That's where they're going to take a sequel, you think?
Oh, I have no idea where they'll take it. I don't even know that I would want to see that. I prefer that being something that we can discuss as a result of the movie. I don't like the idea that it's like
it might be interesting. It'd be
Robert
super...
Pattinson Batman. Let's get him in there. It's like, oh, well, I don't know.
Can you imagine if like people love the second movie and then they go back and watch the Joker and they're like, "What's this?" I mean, this is like not even close to a superhero movie. Like the sequel's full like, superhero.
Where's Jared Leto in all this? I'm confused.
Joker is totally how Todd described it in terms of like, because comic book movies are often just, they're written with a sense of I don't give a fuck.
Totally.
Because
yes.
Whatever. But then Joker felt so deliberate to me, especially just listening to all of the passion that went in from the directors, the writers, the person who made the soundtrack, and Joaquin Phoenix. I was just like, oh, you know, it sounds pretentious as hell, but it's like, oh, look, a real movie where they actually like did all of the things instead of it being like, right, guys, action scene every 10 minutes.
Right.
Make sure, you know, the character is sad in the beginning and happy in the end. Love interest, let's go get it from the bin. We've got all of these options, just stuff like that.
And I think it speaks to the unfortunate place we are in time right now with movies, where you can't, the only way you can sneak a movie like Joker in is you have to tie it into like a superhero or some pre-established,
right? But
right, it's super embarrassing. Everything has to be based off of a pre-existing franchise nowadays, which is really unfortunate.